Do you think you know the best family Christmas movie from the 90s? The 90s are a time of nostalgia for many of us, and what's more nostalgic than Christmas time? But the best 90s family Christmas movie might surprise you. Even though I'm a practicing Jew, I love the Christmas season. I especially love the music. What's better than sitting by a warm fire and listening to Nat King Cole's The Christmas Song? Nothing! But Christmas movies are a close second. In this video, I'll be giving you a rundown of the best Christmas movies of the 1990s to watch with your whole family. Not necessarily the best one hands down. While most of these movies are in no particular order, I am going to eventually tell you the very best one. So you're gonna wanna stick around. Up first we have what's actually my favorite Christmas movie, Home Alone. I just love the concept and the shenanigans Kevin gets up to. Macaulay Culkin's performance in this movie is iconic, and the script is great. I quote it at random times throughout the year. Hold out your little paw there. I don't think so. And of course, is this toothbrush approved by the American Dental Association? If it wasn't for this movie, I wouldn't even know that I was buying lesser quality toothbrushes. And on top of it all, it's got a John Williams soundtrack. You just can't go wrong with that. It has an engrossing story and top-notch acting. And the creativity with which Kevin fends off the wet bandits is fun. Now, you might be wondering, why isn't this my #1 pick if it's my favorite Christmas movie? Well, some parents might not approve of the violence by Kevin and the threatening nature of the villains. Now, I'm not saying I was influenced by this movie to put Hot Wheels in my foyer as a kid, but I'm not saying it either. Of course, that brings us to the next 90s Christmas movie for families, Die Hard 2. Home Alone 2. While there was a time when I thought that I liked this movie better than the first one, I rewatched it a couple years back and it just doesn't hold up in the same way. While the music is still good and the story takes a similar trajectory, it takes an even greater departure from reality than the first. Basically, every single trap Kevin deploys in this one would kill Harry and Marv. I mean, you don't have multiple bricks hit you in the head from the roof of a third-story building and then just get up to later be electrocuted. I'm not saying there wasn't some devastating hits in the first movie, but they were minor skull fractures compared to the gigantic lead pipe in this one. After that, we have The Terminator. Jingle All the Way, starring the Terminator. I enjoyed this movie as a kid. I thought the concept of the Turbo Man toy and the suit was awesome, especially the way that Arnold flies around in the end. It really got my imagination going. However, watching it as a grown-up, it doesn't really hold the same nostalgia value as the other movies on this list. As a father myself, I find the storyline of an absentee father to be kind of depressing. And while I understand the entire point of this movie is that it's his presence, not his presence that matters, it still rubs me the wrong way. The final message of the film is solid, but the weirdly criminal behavior that Arnold and Sinbad get up to in their race to get this year's hot toy just kind of makes me sad. Speaking of absentee fathers, we have the Santa Claus, which as a kid I never understood the significance of the E at the end of the name. Go figure, an 8-year-old doesn't know a whole lot about contract law. Anyway, Tim Allen plays Scott Calvin, who is somewhat recently divorced from his wife and trying to maintain his relationship with his son. Another story about divorce? 90s movies, am I right? Long story short, he becomes Santa Claus because of the legal entrapment laid out in the Santa Claus, with an E. See, it's confusing. Anyway, it's a solid Christmas movie, definitely up there as one of my favorites. It's not cheesy, unlike the sequels, and has a real plot with stakes. Where it falls short is that it's just slightly more adult stakes. It's a story about divorced parents and Santa Claus getting arrested for having a psychological break. If you don't want to have to explain anything to your young kids, it might be good to wait on this one. Another classic is The Nightmare Before Christmas. I probably don't have to explain why this movie isn't #1 on the full family watching list. A kid gets a decapitated head as a Christmas present. While I don't remember it scaring me as a kid, it might be one to avoid for the little ones. That being said, it's still a great movie. The stop-motion animation is fantastic, the story is interesting and unique, and the music is memorable. I haven't watched it in a few years, but it's still one worth coming back to. My one gripe is that Disneyland changes the Haunted Mansion to a Nightmare Before Christmas theme from Halloween through New Year's. Come on! I don't want Christmas themes during Halloween. The normal version of the Haunted Mansion is much more Halloween-y. Now we're almost to my #1 suggestion for the best family Christmas movie of the 90s. And some of you are going to hate it. So don't go away. 1994 saw a remake of the classic Miracle on 34th Street, this time starring Matilda and John Hammond. Sadly, there are no dinosaurs in this movie. However, there are a lot of Christmassy moments. But I gotta ask, what is it with Christmas movies trying to get Santa Claus declared clinically insane? Stop trying to make it happen.
It's not going to happen.
Overall, it's a good movie, though not one of my favorites. It has a good story with some real stakes. But as a kid, the last thing I wanted to watch was something with a court scene. The first Muppet film to come out after Jim Henson's death was The Muppet Christmas Carol. And if you ask me, it shows. The music is uninspired, and they keep singing. I moaned every time a new song started. Also, it's not as witty or irreverent as many other Muppet films. It's a slight reimagining of Charles Dickens's A Christmas Carol, but with a Muppets twist, and sadly, they never answer the #1 question on everyone's mind. Who is Carol? It was emotionally impactful, and I even cried at the climactic Spirit of Christmas is to Come section. I think the issue is that Ebenezer Scrooge is played by human actor Michael Caine.
Michael Caine's voice now in the Batman movies and in Harry Brown. I can't go fast because Michael Caine talks very, very slowly.
Though he does a pretty good job, I watch a Muppet movie to see the main Muppets like Kermit, Miss Piggy, Fozzie, and others like that. It's almost like they took a backseat in their own film. It's probably worth a watch for some families. And now the moment you've all been waiting for, the request to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Wait, no. I mean, yes, do that, but no. The top 90s Christmas movie I recommend for you to watch with your family is I'll Be Home for Christmas. I love this movie. While it's not my favorite Christmas movie of all time, it hits all the right notes. It's an imperfect main character on a journey to grow and become a better person. It's a road trip movie with Christmas injected into it, and most importantly, it has a good message. Unlike the other movies on this list, Jake's parents are separated because his mom died, not because of divorce. So much more wholesome. Really though, I'm not sure how this movie accomplishes it, but I'm actually invested in Jake and Allie's relationship. Eddie's encroachment stresses me out, but even he, as the villain, has some redeeming qualities. While Jake is a rascal and not the best person at the beginning, I'm rooting for him the whole time as he grows and learns what it means to be less selfish and manipulative and become a better son. It also has some interesting stakes, with Jake trying to get home in time for Christmas so his dad will give him the Porsche they've been working on since he was a kid. He has a couple of solid wants, but learns along the way that his wants aren't actually what he needs. Other than the performance of his little sister, the acting is fine, and even though some of the characters are a bit over the top, they don't seem too false. On top of it all, it's got some great moments that make you wish you lived in a place with snow so that your Christmases would be like the one you see. And that's your money's worth of controversial opinions for you, because it has an awful rating on Rotten Tomatoes. I highly recommend this one. While it may not be a perfect Christmas movie, it is a perfect watch for your full family, and it's worth your time. Thank you for subscribing. Let me know in the comments if there was any movies I missed or if you disagree with my top pick. I will respond to every comment, for at least as long as I can. Oh, also check out this other controversial film opinion of mine.